We've all tried hacks to boost our creativity, whether it's drinking way too much coffee, getting some fresh air, or scrolling through TikTok to find inspiration. But the truth is, there aren't any hacks for boosting creativity. As creatives, we don't need hacks to unlock our creativity. For the purposes of this video, let's define a hack as a trick, shortcut, or technique intended to increase efficiency or simplify a task, often in unconventional or non-traditional ways. To me, hacks are low-effort gimmicks that are disguised as something more meaningful, like systems. Systems can be defined as a structured approach or framework to help you achieve desired outcomes with consistency. The reason why that I like systems as opposed to the quick and dirty world of hacks is that systems help create sustainable long-term results, while hacks are simply shortcuts that only solve immediate issues, not long-term problems. In this video, we're going to discuss what these hacks are, why they may not be effective for you, and how to build out an appropriate system for you to stay creative. The thought process with coming up with hacks to use usually looks something like this. You sit down to start on a project, but find that nothing is quite working right. It almost feels like you're in a creative rut. So you seek something to help jumpstart the creative process. You quickly Google some quick and easy solutions, and before you know it, you're creating art. Yay! No, not yay. You may have had a successful time today, but you're really not getting to the core of the issue. Hacks start with a problem in mind first, which might lead to a one-off victory over writer's block, but it's not going to solve any issues that are prevalent in your creative work. This is what makes systems so important. They start with a goal in mind and then work backwards in relation to hacks to solve your creative problems. Systems may truly unlock your creative potential, but before we can understand what makes systems so powerful to use, we first need to understand what makes hacks so ineffective for long-term growth. I've come up with a list of 3 reasons why utilizing hacks over systems will ultimately lead to poor creative results. Starting with reason number 1. Hacks treat symptoms, not the root cause. Let's take the Pomodoro technique as an example. For those unfamiliar, the Pomodoro technique is a time management method developed by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s that breaks work into intervals, also known as Pomodoros, of 25 minutes followed by a 5-minute break. Time blocking methods like the Pomodoro technique have proven very popular and have been used by the likes of Tim Ferriss, author of the 4-Hour Workweek, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, and even Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States. The Pomodoro technique seeks to solve issues around time management, but unfortunately, it's not without its flaws. According to a 2014 study, it was found that the Pomodoro technique was an effective approach for the team that used it during the study. However, the study also acknowledges that the technique needs more objective assessment to better determine its effectiveness. Others have also criticized the technique for breaking the flow state, having rigid intervals, or just simply not being appropriate for all tasks. Now, for a second, disregard if you personally like this technique or not. How does the Pomodoro technique only treat a symptom and not getting to the root cause? Some of the symptoms that you might have that would prompt you to try the Pomodoro technique might be the inability to focus, procrastination, mental fatigue, overwhelm, poor time management, and really the list goes on. Now, while these symptoms might be helped by utilizing something like the Pomodoro technique, it doesn't address the root cause. The root cause may be any number of things, but one example could be poor planning. Are you prioritizing the right tasks? Is the work appropriately scoped? Are your tasks vague or misaligned with your actual goals? It can be easy to mistake forward motion with real progress. Just because you crushed 4 Pomodoros today, it doesn't mean you had any meaningful impact on your goals if those goals were poorly planned. Moving on to reason number 2 on why systems are better than hacks. Hacks prioritize speed over depth. To explain this a bit more, let's look at an example of our next hack, batching. Batching is the practice of grouping similar tasks together and completing them in a single, concentrated period of time to increase efficiency. Batching traces its roots back to the early 20th century, where it was commonplace among the manufacturing industry. It proved to be highly effective for maximizing efficiency for producing items at scale. Batching reduces idle time by keeping machines active, with fewer gaps between tasks, helps to standardize quality by making defects a little easier to catch, and simplifies logistics by making inventory and shipping a little easier. The problem with creatives utilizing batching is that creative work is just simply more cognitively complex. And it's not something that you can always find repeatability, consistency, and efficiency like you could on an assembly line. You can't guarantee the quality of your work if you utilize batching as a creative hack. The third and final reason why hacks don't work for creatives is that hacks don't provide a real structure for your problems. Let's say you hear on a podcast that using ChatGPT is a great way to brainstorm YouTube video ideas. So you put in your prompt to generate 50 ideas and finish brainstorming in only a matter of minutes. You may feel a sense of accomplishment because your to-do list said to brainstorm 50 YouTube video ideas and you did it, right? Wrong. What you actually probably ended up doing was coming up with 50 generic ideas that have probably already been discussed. The trap that users of ChatGPT fall into is that it makes you feel like you were productive, which in reality, you didn't come up with any original ideas, basically putting you back to square one. Okay, so now hopefully we understand why hacks aren't going to solve your creative woes, but what makes systems so effective? How are they different from hacks? Can they help with the creative process? Well, we've learned that hacks start with the problem, but this leads to a shallow understanding of what you actually need. You may remember from earlier in the video where I said that systems start with the goal in mind and work backwards. Starting with the goal helps you to define what you need, so you can begin the process of creating a system that will help you become more creative. To illustrate this, we're going to build a sample system, but we are going to start with a goal in mind. Let's say you are a music producer, although this will work for any creative project, and you're struggling to stay consistent. You want to sit down and make music every day, but the inspiration doesn't feel quite there. No matter how hard you try to be consistent by brute forcing creating something every day, you find that the quality of your tracks are low and you feel overall less excited about your work. You are finding that you're also getting more and more distracted because the creative process just isn't as fun as it used to be. In this situation, our goal wouldn't only be to find more consistency, but also to find more quality with that consistency while we are staying focused while working. So we need to build out a system utilizing tried and true techniques, like the Pomodoro technique, batching, and ChatGPT. But wait, didn't I just say that those techniques were ineffective? Yeah, I did. And I wasn't lying or trying to trick you. Trying to solve a singular problem without long-term goals in mind isn't going to solve the issue. But this time, we started with the goal in mind. We want consistent, quality, distraction-free work. Because we want to be more consistent, we can use ChatGPT to help us create creative prompts for songs if we feel stuck. We could ask something like, can you give me a vibe to start a song with for an electronic song? This could give us a boost and maybe help cut through that writer's block. But we don't just want consistency, we want more quality work. So instead of forcing ourselves to work on a single song, we can batch a few different drum patterns for different songs if we're feeling more creative with percussion that day. Lastly, we are struggling to stay focused during the creative process, so we can take advantage of the Pomodoro technique. This means that we can commit to small chunks of focus while still having breaks in between to check our phones or do whatever. Because we started with a goal in mind, which was to have more quality, consistent, and distracted-free creative work, we were able to address those problems in a way more effective way. If instead you only would have focused on a singular problem like writer's block, you may have only utilized ChatGPT, meaning you probably wouldn't have found as much quality or as much focus while working on your creative projects. The point of this video wasn't to dunk on hacks for not being effective tools, but instead I wanted to shine some light on how, if not used within the framework of a system, they might not actually address your problems. Sometimes the only hack that you really need is just a start. So if you want to see how I started this YouTube journey, click on the video right over here. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, go make something.